Salvage experts will attempt to refloat the Iron Baron tomorrow. Widespread protests against the French on Bastille Day, and AFL Chief Ross Oakley tells Tasmania to get ready for a future opportunity. Good evening, I'm Tom Payne. 4 days since the grounding of the Iron Baron on Low Head's Hebe Reef, salvage crews are on track to refloat the vessel high tide tomorrow. Oil-affected wildlife continues to be picked up by authorities, but it's now a matter of how to care for them.
The environmental effect of Tasmania's worst oil spill is slowly being realised. Yesterday, the first oil-affected pelican was brought into carers.
He only had some oil on its breast. He's been washed yesterday. One wash is probably enough. We've been feeding him. He's set up in a separate house with some of the cormorants.
A further 40 fairy penguins were picked up by helicopter off 10th Island this afternoon. Now volunteers have almost 350 mouths to feed. Parks and Wildlife have relocated some cormorants to a makeshift animal hospital and have set up a playpen to help the penguins recover. They may have to be cared for up to 3 weeks. BHP has flown in a US expert. Kurt Klumpner has helped stricken animals in 25 oil spills around the world.
I hope that I'll be able to help them in terms of washing and cleaning and feeding and things like that.
Most oil has been recovered from the water and the beaches. Now there's the very difficult task of cleaning oil from the rocks before bird life can be released back into the wild. As for the ship, salvage crews are preparing the vessel. All systems have been checked and the tanks have been fitted for compressed air.
The salvage master is confident that, subject that he doesn't discover any more nasties before tomorrow, and subject that the weather is no worse than moderate, that he will attempt a refloating attempt just after lunchtime tomorrow.
At this stage, the weather looks favourable.
For more than 2 centuries, Bastille Day has symbolised the struggle for freedom around the world. Today, it became the focus for outrage at French plans to explode its bombs on our doorstep. There were expressions of anger across the South Pacific and in almost every town and city in Australia, one of the largest in Sydney.
On a day when the French celebrate liberty, thousands of protesters rallied here in protest at France's nuclear policy. 206 years ago, the French marched in revolution and crushed the monarchist government. Today, the masses marched again in protest at the French government.
It's time to listen to the people's voice. It's time to recognise that a failure of imagination and a failure to act is a failure to do anything at all, and it's no time for failure, it's a time for action.
From there, the rally marched on to the French consulate. In Canberra, 3 arrests as protesters picketed Bastille Day celebrations hosted by French Ambassador Dominique Girard.
Stop the nuclear test!
Guests were heckled. The ambassador appealed for tolerance.
Well, they said that there was nothing to celebrate. I think that we have to celebrate the 14th of July, which is not only a French celebration, but also an international celebration of liberty.
The PM and his ministers boycotted the party, leaving a senior public servant to make a polite gesture.
Drink a toast to the President of the Republic of France.
President.
We are going to have a running set of presentations, arguments, protests from now until the French decide to stop testing.
Meanwhile, the Sydney Peace Squadron raided French businesses, but their action was more comedy than protest.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to ask you to leave.
I'm getting sick of jumping up and down.
Yes, exactly.
Placards didn't stop Sydney's French consul honouring Bastille Day with the laying of wreaths. The Transport Workers Union too has weighed in with protest, refusing to service French ships and aircraft. In Queensland, smoke bombs to protest nuclear bombs at a beach rally. In Brisbane, students and teachers wore black armbands, mourning the resumption of testing. For more than 2 centuries, Bastille has meant celebrating freedom from oppression. Today, it will be remembered for protest.
And while most people ignored Bastille Day and many protested, French students from the St Brendan Shaw College in Devonport went ahead with their Bastille Day luncheon.
It's looked upon as an educational day, and everything is very French, even to the explanation of the menu by head waiter Renato.
On commence avec du pain. C'est votre baguette qui est le pain traditionnel français.
It's the 5th year the students have held the luncheon, but why did they go ahead when protests against the French were held all over the country?
From the school's point of view, we are not involved in politics at all, and we cannot be involved in politics. So our own personal opinions on what's happening in the Pacific cannot enter into it. We're teaching a language and a culture, and this is what we're experiencing today.
The owner of the old rectory said they went ahead with plans for the luncheon for the students today, but have cancelled a function tonight, which is normally packed.
Tonight we're not going to open because of the problems which we've got with the atomic bombs up in the Roroa.
A 37-year-old Waverley man has been charged with numerous crimes arising from a rape at the Launceston Matriculation College almost 12 years ago. Police allege 37-year-old Colin John Sparks attacked a 17-year-old girl in October 1983. They've asked for a man calling himself the Stranger, who came forward with information at the time of the attack, to contact them. Changes to a major retailer's trading hours have drawn criticism today, with the Retail Traders Association claiming it's a result of company greed.
Tasmania's Myer stores have reduced their weekday trading hours, Launceston by 1.5 hours, Hobart by 5.5. The Retail Traders Association says it's all due to the company's attitude to Saturday trading.
I think that the current developments indicate quite clearly that this agenda for extended hours was nothing to do with customer convenience. It was purely an agenda of greed.
Myer maintains they simply want to open when customers want to shop, with Saturdays shaping up as one of their busiest days.
But given our position has always been in support of deregulated hours and not extended hours, then it's really common sense that we would continue to adjust our hours in line with our customers.
The Retail Traders Association says it will call on the government to hold an independent inquiry into Saturday trading and its effects on employees and customers.
A nationwide hunt is underway for dozens of stolen paintings after what's believed to be Australia's biggest art theft. The 64 missing pictures, mostly by renowned artist Albert Tucker, are valued at more than $4 million. They were taken from Mr. Tucker's home in Melbourne, apparently over several months. There are fears that the collection could have been smuggled overseas. In the news ahead, Army recruits put to the test.
Work hard, help each other, work hard!
Tonight, Don goes behind enemy lines and takes on the French in their own backyard.
We are in the very heart of Paris.
Monet's Gardens, the Palace of Versailles and more.
I hate Australia.
Burke's Backyard, 7:30 tonight on Win.
How much for this? Don't know, $5?
According to Carter's Collectibles Guide, it's worth $185.
How much for this old doorstop? $3 too much?
According to Carter's, it's worth $50. Turn trash into treasure with Carter's Collectibles Guide. It gives the latest valuation on thousands of items, and it's only $39.95. Call 1-800-670-630 now for your copy. You'll also receive this magazine free.
Wonder how much I get for my husband.
Wouldn't you like to get a free CD of the hottest country music every month?
Sure. How?
Subscribe to New Country Magazine, and every month you'll receive a free CD packed with 10 new songs from some of your favorite country artists.
Be my baby tonight.
Every issue of New Country Magazine delivers exclusive features and lively interviews with country music's biggest stars, plus reviews and ratings of more than 100 new country albums every month.
Reviews? I like reviews.
Call now to subscribe to New Country Magazine and receive your free CD or cassette every month. There's no club to join, no obligation to buy. Call now, and as a special introductory offer, you receive your first issue absolutely free. Just pay $3.95 for postage and handling.
Oh, company time. What have I got to lose?
Nothing. To get your free magazine and CD or cassette, call 008635858 now and just pay for postage and handling. New Country Magazine is not available in any shops or newsagents, so call us now.
Tasmania's Know Your Midwife scheme today celebrated its 1,000th birth. The scheme, pioneered at Hobart's Queen Alexandra division of the Royal Hobart Hospital, introduces the midwife to mothers well before the birth to develop confidence and parenting skills.
When Kelly gave birth to her first child 2 days ago, she was already on familiar terms with her midwife.
It made it a lot more comfortable once I actually got to the labour ward to know that there was a familiar face there, someone that I actually knew.
Kelly is part of a scheme where a team of midwives offer a pregnancy package, visits before and after the birth, and importantly, one of the team is present during delivery. The scheme began 5 years ago and it's become so popular it's booked out to early next year. The rapport developed between mothers and midwives has become so successful it's being adopted by hospitals interstate.
It gives them good continuity so they get to know their caregiver. And it's also, on the sort of financial side of it, is good use of resources.
The program is expected to be expanded soon. At present, about 200 mothers are using the service each year.
It's on again, Australia's largest indoor working craft fair under the one roof at the Derwent Entertainment Centre. Organised by the Rotary Club of Brighton, the 2.5-day event was officially opened by Premier Ray Groom. The fair will include more than 100 working exhibits demonstrating Tasmanian arts and crafts. The fair will also include a 40-strong festival band and a display by a team of rollerbladers. All monies raised will assist the Rotary Club build $800,000 worth of units for elderly citizens at Brighton. Queenslanders go to the polls tomorrow, and according to both Premier Goss and opposition leader Borbich, it will be a tight result. While the contest will be keenly watched in Canberra, at least one indicator shows that things could be uncomfortable for the Premier.
On the eve of the Queensland election, a televised debate between the Premier and the opposition leader saw the return of the worm, and the worm turned on Wayne Goss. It plummeted when the Premier tried to justify Labor claims that a coalition government in Queensland would sell off public hospitals.
The Nationals and Liberals in Western Australia also denied that they would sell off hospitals.
It shot up when Rob Borbich, leader of the National Party and the man who would be Premier, advocated the right of householders to shoot home invaders.
Under a coalition government, you will have every right to use whatever force is required to defend yourself, your wife, your kids.
The worm reflected the collective judgment of 50 undecided voters, winding dials back and forth to show approval or disapproval.
Who, in your opinion, won the debate?
It was a clear victory for the underdog, the little-known Mr Borbich, adding to Labor nervousness about an election that a last-minute opinion poll shows to be on a knife edge. The National and Liberal Party coalition needs to take 10 seats from Labor to win government, requiring a swing of more than 5%. That's a tall order, given the booming Queensland economy and Mr Goss's personal popularity. But Labor barred the Prime Minister from the campaign because he's on the nose in Queensland, and plans for a new Brisbane Gold Coast tollway, tunnelling through Australia's largest koala habitat, threaten the seats of a number of Labor MPs, including Environment Minister Molly Robson.
The tunnel will be Molly Robinson's tomb, as it was going to be the koala's tomb.
But Labor's biggest worry is people who might simply cast a protest vote, thinking the government's not at risk.
Bosnian Serbs have finished off the dirty job of so-called ethnic cleansing in the former Muslim town of Srebrenica. This latest Serb victory, like so many others, is now being followed by reports of rape and murder.
The misery of the Muslims from Srebrenica. Their safe haven destroyed, their husbands, their fathers taken for interrogation. The Bosnian Serbs drove thousands out by bus before dumping them in no man's land. Women, children and the elderly forced to walk along the front lines of this war in an attempt to reach relative safety. For many, it was a 50-kilometre trek without food nor water. For many, it had taken everything they had. The Serbs' quest for ethnic cleansing had given scant regard to the Geneva Convention.
Forcing women, children and wounded to walk across confrontation lines is hardly what the authors of the Geneva Conventions envisaged as being in accordance with these conventions.
Those that made it through to Tuzla huddled in a UN airbase, a number bringing tales of atrocities of rape and murder. Some welcome supplies were waiting, but there is not nearly enough to feed the tens of thousands now flooding into the area. The UN peacekeepers offer the best humanitarian hope, and yet there is still talk the UN may pull out.
There are serious problems now with this. Unless we can restore the integrity of the UN mission, obviously its days will be numbered.
An incensed Bosnian government wants to know why the United Nations Rapid Reaction Force has not reacted.
You got 30,000 UN soldiers in Bosnia.
what the heck are they doing there? I mean, this seems to be like one big camping trip.
Of most concern for these survivors now, where are the men of Srebrenica and how are they being treated?
An emotional farewell in Melbourne today for Nadia Me. More than 500 family and friends crowded into a local church for a requiem mass. With her husband Walter and son Tyson, they remembered Nadia's courage as she fought for greater awareness of breast cancer after finding she had the disease.
The remarkable thing was there was never ever one moment of self-pity in the whole of that.
Nadia Me died on Wednesday, aged 33. A 22-year-old man has been charged with attempted murder in Devonport. A 21-year-old youth was stabbed more than 20 times in a house between 2:30 and 3 o'clock this morning and is in a serious but stable condition in the Mersey Hospital. A driver was killed today when his petrol tanker overturned and exploded in flames in Queensland after swerving to avoid a collision between two cars. The 39-year-old lost control of his tanker, which careered off the Bruce Highway.
The tanker just blew up with an almighty bang, and that was it, and the tanker driver was still in it.
The heat was so intense that there was little firefighters could do except wait for the petrol to burn itself out. The Australian Army is going through a boom in Tasmania, with the highest number of recruits for many years undergoing reserve training at Brighton this week. More than 100 recruits today tested their skill and endurance on a tough obstacle course known as the Enduro.
A 12-kilometre forced march, a long run followed by a taxing obstacle course, over, under and through some inhospitable terrain, and then firing an Army service rifle. The Enduro is the most physical part of the 16-day recruit course.
It actually exposes the soldier to probably the worst possible conditions. They are very tired when they finish this to get over the obstacles. It also brings out a tremendous amount of teamwork.
And in Army circles, crawling through the mud is no longer a man's domain. 38 women are in this latest intake.
And on this particular occasion, all the girls were exercised in the same platoon. So we had complete sections of females, which generated, in fact, a fair bit of competition against the other platoon, which were all males.
They're lots of fun. Yeah, I enjoy them.
The recruit course will be completed with a march out at the Brighton Barracks on Sunday. Meanwhile, it was announced today that the National Vietnam Veterans' 30-year reunion will be held in Tasmania in August next year.
It is conservatively estimated that 250,000 Australian families were directly affected during and as a result of the Vietnam War.
Next year's event will coincide with Vietnam Veteran Memorial Day to remember all casualties during Australia's 10-year involvement.
A special day for the Aussie veterans on their pilgrimage of remembrance, ending their tour of the battlefields that saved Australia from invasion. Their last stop was Labuan in Borneo, where they turned the tables on the Japanese, forcing them to surrender.
The veterans came back to the battlefields of half a century ago on high-speed jet cats. The landing on the Japanese headquarters island of Labuan was of vital importance.
When that flap come down, I thought, hello, we're all going to cop it here.
Storming ashore, the Australians wanted Borneo's vital airfields and oil supplies for the final push on Japan itself. Rex Goodrick was one of the first infantrymen ashore.
Very horrifying and frightening. I had a lot of coppers too, it was frightening.
All the Australians who fell in the Borneo campaigns are buried on Labuan. The veterans were taken to the simple memorial where the Japanese army surrendered unconditionally to Australia's famous 9th Division.
It's the young ones coming on that have got to learn of the heritage and understand the history and what went on and why there were so many people in the cemetery.
Guard for our Australian veterans. A special salute for you.
The pilgrimages may be over, but their legacy is everlasting. For as long as great deeds are remembered and brave men and women honoured, Australia remembers.
Penguin Books are celebrating 60 years of producing paperbacks, and today a school's library on the northwest coast benefited from the celebration.
Naturally, it was the Penguin High School that received the gift of books from the Penguin Book Company, and the library books were handed over by Felicity Downey from the marketing department of Penguin Books.
The group manager of the Penguin Group in New York was actually flipping through the atlas one day, and he found the only penguin in the world to be actually located here on the northwest coast of Tasmania. So we decided to do something with that because it's Penguin's 60th birthday this year.
Penguin released the cheap paperback, which was available to the general public.
Penguin was founded in 1935 by Alan Lane, and the original paperback back then was sixpence.
The school received 200 books of their own choice.
On the stock market, the All Ordinaries finished almost 7 points lower, $1 down a little, but still above 73 cents US. Cameron with sport tonight, and the TFL launches its advisory group camp.
That's right, Tom. Its primary job to continue the push for a Tasmanian team in the AFL.
You never know in this business when a licence might become available.
Can you believe it? Now we're training household dogs to attack humans.
A dog can be almost as dangerous as a firearm.
Plus Shirley MacLane's very entertaining pillow talk.
He didn't try to achieve anything in bed or vice versa. He didn't really demand anything.
She's next.
You're scared to commit.
I'm not. I'm just not sure about this.
Let's try it.
How long?
2 weeks?
Okay.
We challenge you to try Kellogg's All Bran every day for 2 weeks. We know you'll feel healthier on the inside because each bowl supplies 1/3 of your daily fibre needs.
See? I said we'd feel great.
Try Kellogg's All Bran for 2 weeks and see for yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, backed by popular demand, the very best of Frank Burke and his famous White Rose Orchestra.
Baby face, you've got the cutest little baby.
Playing his 21 most requested songs, Katie, Bells Across the Bay, the Darktown Strutters Ball, and the fabulous Beer Barrel Polka.
For miles around, you'll hear them sing.
The very best of Frank Burke and his White Rose Orchestra is nearly 1 hour of all-time favourites.
We'll have a barrel.
You'll dance and sing away the hours on this grand new release. Mary's a grand old name. Amazing Grace, the chic of Arab